Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unfollowed. I'm Arynne, also known as NonLibTake on Instagram.
I'm Emily, also known as Emily Saves America.
And we're just going to get to it this week. There's somehow actually a lot going on, even though it's kind of end of summer. I feel like, I don't know, Emily, I feel like Twitter, Instagram, there's like I feel like when the world is this crazy, everyone decided to take a break for the last 2 weeks. There's almost been like some sort of truce. We had the DNC, but even with that, I just feel like the news cycle has been pretty light. But there's also always still crazy stuff going on because we're living through years in the span of weeks. So
we're living through very hard times that we men have created.
What a year this week has been is just the tweet I keep thinking.
I think the DNC was actually so overwhelming and so much content that people are like, okay, we now need like a little break.
Yeah, everyone the last week for sure was really quiet. So except for RFK, who decided that this week of all weeks, I actually do wonder why it took to this point for him to drop out and endorse Trump. But I'm not going to, I actually think this is a moment where even though I can be kind of a bitter conservative about things, like all my friends who voted for Biden last time, who now are finally maybe voting for Trump, but now some of them are waffling because of Kamala, and we could get to that at another point. But like, I don't forgive them. I think they should have to pay reparations to all of us. But for RFK, I'm okay with, just accepting this support and being excited about it. So what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I had like posted and like, I basically was just like, look, I think that Trump is obviously the best choice because he wants to make America the best place possible. And I think he really does for like middle-class people. And I truly believe that regardless of whatever anyone says. And then I was like, I think RFK is so important because he wants to make everyone healthy. And I always say, like, if you're healthy, you're clear-minded. Yeah. Therefore, I think you naturally are a conservative. And it's funny now because conservatism and right-wing policies and all these things have so much to do with health and wellness. Everyone I know who's huge in the health and wellness space is a Republican. The only thing that's like, I mean, this is like the best news in the world we could possibly ask for. I just think it's annoying because he truly had no shot at winning. Everyone knows that. But it's just annoying for him to wait so long.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he made the great statement of like, this Democratic Party is not what it used to be. Like, our grandparents would be ashamed. But it's like one of those things where it's like he had no shot of winning ever. And I wish he would have just been VP. But I do remember, I think he made a statement like, I'd never be VP. And it's like, okay, well, I think we need to put egos aside because we have to literally save a country. But I think for us, it's the best possible, outcome right now we could have because he's going to make a difference in a lot of the swing states as well.
Yeah, I saw that he actually, I think it was Matt Gaetz who posted about this originally. And now I've seen it in a few other places. But RFK, and I hope this is true, but he apparently is keeping his name on the ballot in blue states to kind of split the vote, and then he's taking his name off in swing states rather. So I mean, that's I love that. That's pretty good. Yeah. So yeah,
I hope that's true because that's like the best possible news we could have. Because I truly believe with him, like obviously I don't believe our elections are trustworthy, and I don't trust the media, obviously, but I do believe with him we have like. We're really strong because those are two huge parties because most people, the only people who are voting for Kamala are the same people that would vote for Biden who are so far left.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put like a dictator up there and they would still vote for him because their only thing is that they hate Trump and voting against Trump. So I just think anyone who's not clinically insane is now going to vote for Trump if he's on board with him. So I think it's the best thing that could have happened to us. And now, like, I think everyone is feeling a little depressed the past like couple weeks. And I feel like hopefully now everyone's like happy again because we have some hope.
I mean, I think RFK endorsing Trump and that amazing rally that we saw at the end of last week on Friday, it just goes to show you how far the Overton window has shifted for the Democrats, right? So if you look at what Republicans have believed over the last since JFK, you could look that far back. Our beliefs are pretty much the same. And the left has gone from JFK being a Democrat today, he would be running as a Republican, right? That is how far left they have gone. So now someone like RFK is seen as very extreme on the left. And we're not talking about, schmack jeans or whatever. I'm going to say it funny in case we put this on YouTube. That's why I always say it in my videos on Instagram for schmack jeans so that the AI doesn't get me.
AI.
Taking that aside, because obviously there are people on the left who disagree with those different policies with RFK, but just in general, the fact that he is into health and fitness, like to your point, there is a fat liberation movement on the left now that is trying that, even it got Lizzo for a while, and now I see Lizzo is actually like on vacation, taking a year off, trying to get healthy after insisting that what she was doing was healthy. And that's the narrative of the left, right? Like we see these newspaper the like magazine covers, like Vogue and others, where they're saying fat is healthy. And like, I'm not, fat can be like, you could be overweight, you can still be beautiful. That's totally subjective. What's not subjective is if you're healthy when you're that overweight. But that's everything with the left now, right? And it's not just about your health, your weight, all that. Like with the left, it's like a man can become a woman. Like it's just, we're not dealing with people who agree with basic facts. And like, if we can't, like a leftist will tell you the sky is green, right? Like that's the point we're at right now. And so I think that's actually what RFK represents, right? Just how far the Democrats have gone and how the far left of the party has just really taken over. So I'm hoping, like you're saying, I'm hoping that this endorsement helps Trump. I do worry though. Like I hear different things from my friends in New York than what you might be hearing. I know people who somehow still have Trump derangement syndrome, people who are friends with me, know what I do. We could have respectful conversations. And they say to me, but Trump is still just too crazy. And I don't even know how to respond to someone. I mean, I know how there's plenty of things to say, but
you're like, you want to cut up like 8-year-olds. What is crazy about Trump?
I know. Especially.
Yeah, maybe that's a New York thing. Because in LA, everyone here naturally, there's huge protests. I just drove by one yesterday for RFK. So everyone naturally loves him. And people here also love Trump. So everyone's really excited about it here. It's very divided. Like you're either voting for Kamala because you're a psycho liberal, or you're voting for Trump, and all the RFK people are voting for him too. So here's a little bit more like black and white.
I really hope that. But I mean, that's why we talk about this. That's why we're here doing this for anecdotes. Yeah.
It's you heard it. Like, you
heard the anecdotes here first.
I mean, it's also, can we talk about the audience size? So Kamala's audience size, we all know, have now been like AI. They've been photoshopped. And on top of that, she has to lie. People went for Megan Thee Stallion. They went for Bon Iver, Bon Iver, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't care. It's like some hipster band. And then she literally had to lie about Beyonce. And think about it. They're not only filling the stadiums with paid people, they're also lying about artists coming. And then they still can't even get like 1/10 of what a Trump rally. People who pay and wait in lines and are dying to get in there. She can't even touch his rallies. It's a joke.
I know. That's why they had to import all those illegals to get the votes, right? So.
Which is funny because then there's the video of the guy that's like the illegal outside the DNC and he like won't let him in. And also, okay, I was showing my boyfriend the video because you know how Matt Walsh is coming out with that like I Am Racist movie or whatever?
Yeah.
Can we even my boyfriend who's like so disconnected from all culture, politics, social media, like everything in the world. He basically, if you talk to him, you'd be like, oh, you like have been on a different planet this whole entire time. Like he does not know what's going on. And it's so funny because I was showing him clips on TikTok. I was laughing at Matt Walsh. And he was like going around to the DNC and talking to these people. And I'm like, okay, can we talk about the level of mental illness when these people are like, I don't feel safe with a person with a different opinion in the room. Like, okay, so you feel safe not having guns, not being able to protect yourself. You feel safe with no like choices about your body, vaccines that you have no idea what's in them or what's going to happen. You feel safe with immigration and open borders.
Men in the women's bathroom.
And men in your restrooms. But you don't feel safe with someone who's obviously could never harm you, considering he's a public figure and is probably more worried about you guys harming him, which is why he has to have security around his family. But I'm like, do you not think it's insane to be like, I feel unsafe around someone with a different opinion? Like, this is mental illness on the craziest level.
It is. But that goes back to the idea of like, they can't even deal with facts or opinions that are different than their own. So how do you deal with people like that? So I actually think that's why, like, you know, I don't know how necessary it is. Like I see, and like, I say this as like the most supportive person for Trump and the Trump campaign, but like I see people who are in support of the campaign posting things about, you know, the economy and this is what gas prices have been and how they've changed and this is how inflation is affecting people. And I actually think that like trying to deal with those facts are pretty irrelevant when dealing with these people because, you know,
they don't care.
We all know that famous line that got, you know, it's not what got Ben Shapiro famous, but we all know the famous line that Ben Shapiro was known for, which is facts don't care about your feelings. I say the opposite. Feelings don't care about the facts. So, you know, we on the right are always trying to convince people on the left to think the way, you know, to see what we're seeing by, you know, bringing them the evidence that would convince us. but that person is not a conservative. They don't think about things in the same logical way that we present that evidence and maybe you'll change your opinion about it. That's not how it works. We know that they got, SNL, I feel like, is what got people to vote a certain way for 20 years. And thankfully, they're so unfunny that I think, the late night shows, SNL, all those folks, they're a lot less effective than they used to be. But feelings just don't care about the facts. So honestly, the same way that we look at when Karine Jean-Pierre, like other White House spokespeople will come up and say, the economy's never been stronger. And they're trying to like hypnotize us with this. Like if they just say it enough, we'll believe them. But I think on the right, when we present people with facts, even though this is true, all those numbers are correct, but either someone feels it and they know that's what's happening, or they don't, or maybe they feel it, but we know the left right now is trying to convince us that somehow Trump is responsible for this when Kamala Harris is the one in office. And so people know it or they don't. But I am hoping, back to your point on RFK, that, for a lot of disenchanted Democrat voters who feel like they didn't vote for Kamala, they feel like their party's been taken over. I am hopeful that this will help those people see what's going on, because I think there are a lot of reasonable people in this country. I think most of the country falls within this like standard deviation of normalcy where they could see what is going on. But also they get such skewed media news. They still think all kinds of things about Trump that we just know are not true.
Well, and most people don't have access to like a lot of unbiased information because you'd have to be following so many people that are like right-leaning and independent journalists, which realistically, I think like most people genuinely are just trying to go to work and pay their bills and figure out how they're going to like be able to afford a vacation one day. I think they're not in politics. So I totally feel for that. But it's kind of crazy because the whole like facts feelings thing is like, this is literally what frustrates me about all the fat influencers I see online. It's like beauty's subjective. You could say you're beautiful, but at the same time, you cannot say that you're healthy.
Correct.
Because if I were to have all of them on a show and we had a doctor come up and we did all their levels, like you can say you're healthy, but you can't deny the facts of like, you're not healthy because you can't be overweight and healthy. You can lose some weight and and have no issues going on. And like, obviously you can be skinny and have things wrong with you, but it's like, you just can't be obese and be healthy. It's just like, it factually doesn't work. But it's like so funny because I think that's been promoted for so long. And now I think the tables are finally turning because every fat influencer I see now is like literally on Ozempic getting skinny now. And they're like talking about their wellness journeys. I'm like, so you're admitting that you're doing a wellness journey, which means you're getting healthy. But I will say one more point to the RFK thing is like, I posted, it was like him, Elon Musk, and Trump, which were not exactly like diehard Republicans their whole lives. And there was the famous quote of, it's like, I didn't abandon my party abandoned me. And I think that's how most people here feel, especially when you're in a place like California, where like we get affected, I think, hardest by most of these policies, especially crime and immigration and inflation and taxes and all these things. Like shit, we're feeling it already. You add like 1% and we're all drowning. So
Don't California my United States.
Right? Yeah, exactly. My friend was wearing a "Don't California my Texas." And
I've seen that, but now it's like, I feel like when I remember it was in the gubernatorial election for DeSantis where everyone was saying like, make America Florida. Florida's been doing so well. But I feel like now the slogan against Kamala should be "Don't California my United States," because that's basically what she's trying to do. Also, I'm sorry, I don't know if you could hear background noise. We're not going to edit this out because we do this. We just do it live.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, it's pouring rain where I am, which is why it's like
I was like, I honestly can't hear anything. Okay, but it was funny. Did you see at the DNC when they go around to each state and they ask the delegates, I guess, like who they're endorsing, and do we have Kamal's? California said no.
I saw that, but here's the thing. Okay, I didn't look into this, so I apologize to our. If you know the specifics, just put it in the comments and people will see it. But I was told that it might just be a technicality thing, or like they do this every time. I don't know. But here's what I will say. I think if it were meant to be a dig at Kamala, it would have been a much bigger story, which is what tells me that there's some technicality here. There's some sort of like tradition.
I thought the opposite. I thought because it's such a big dig, they're not covering it because they don't want anyone to pull attention to the fact. Isn't California like her home state, and isn't this supposed to be one of the most liberal places in the country?
I agree with you, but don't you think conservatives on Twitter would have made it a thing? Don't you think?
I only saw me. So I posted the video like days ago, and then I saw one guy just posted it like yesterday. So it's like weird that we're the only people that have said something. I was like, I don't know. I was gonna post a video today, just be like, it's
I
funny.
just feel like people listen. We'll look into this after the show, but I feel like shout out to our friend Greg Price or other people, like somebody like that who's on top of things would have tweeted about it. That's what I think. So
yeah,
we'll see.
pretty crazy though. Like for how liberal California is, like Kamala can't secure the vote there immediately with everyone watching. Like they're paid for anyways. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, talking about liars, let's talk about how Tim Walz has lied about his dog. The craziest. The man here, this is what's so concerning to me about this. We expect every politician to lie. And whether we like it or not, we know, like even Republicans, we know it's a politician's, I don't want to say job, but we know that it's their MO to lie and to just like basically give anodyne speeches where they say essentially nothing, right? Like the whole point of a politician is they never, not the whole point. The whole point is to serve us, the taxpayers. But what we know that they do is they basically never answer questions. They never say anything. They try to be like, just not controversial, and they just try to get reelected, right? So when somebody lies once in a while, like about policy or voting record, you could be like, okay, I get it. That's what politicians do. What I become concerned about is that Tim Walz has lied about the smallest details. That to me, it feels like a tick. It feels like a compulsion that is much bigger than just being a sleazy politician who's lying about his record, because he lied about cooking. He says like he doesn't know how to cook because he's trying to be like the doofus white guy who needs like Kamala to save him. So he pretended he doesn't cook even when he won some sort of chili competition years ago in Minnesota or whatever. And now a tweet was uncovered. I verified these tweets. So on my Instagram account, I posted the photos of these Twitter screenshots where somebody looked up on Tim Walz's Twitter feed and saw that he referred to his dog Scout. And in one photo, it looks like a mixed dog, possibly a rescue. It looks like a bunch of different things together. And in the other photo, it looks like a lab, like a black lab, kind of like Theo, except obviously not as attractive. But it's so crazy to me that these are two entirely different photos, only a couple months apart, like maybe 2 months apart. And he says, here's Scout, and just like, he just changes out the dog.
That's weird.
And I not only found these tweets, but when I was searching, I found a third tweet of the black dog on the cover of Vogue, but it said Dogue. So I didn't know if like Vogue actually did it, or if it was like him photoshopping it, pretending it was like a dog. Like it's instead of Vogue, the V is replaced with a D. So it says Dogue. But either way, it's two different dogs. So there are a few scenarios, I think, of what could be happening here. First, Tim Walz is so anti-racist, he just doesn't see color and didn't realize that these are two different dogs somehow. Two, it's the Disney remake of his first dog, and that is why the dog is black. Third, he's just a liar.
It's not just politicians, though. I think when people lie about big things, I think it's a natural instinct when you're cornered like a rat to lie about huge things. Like, obviously, I like in real estate, when I would mess up, of course I would lie. I'd be like, no, the door was broken when I got here. It wasn't me because I yanked it 45 times the wrong way. And now I just broke a $9,000 sliding door. But it's like with friendships and relationships, I get so freaked out when it's small things. When you lie about small things, then I think you're a psychopath. And then I assume if you lie about small things, you also lie about everything. But also he's a weird dude. Like, did you see the way he like yanked his autistic son on stage? I was like,
I know people are claiming it's because he was helping him to avoid something. We couldn't see it from that angle. But here's the thing. Let's just say that's true. Let's ignore the yank for a second, because he might like. We all know that there are better ways to move somebody than that kind of a yank, but let's just be generous with that interpretation. It's his face. It's the change in his face that like in a split second, you see like a flash of like true evil go across this guy's face. This is a man who also doesn't believe in protecting his own citizens, but he was fine with like BB gunning and tear gassing down moms who wanted to leave their houses during COVID. Like, this is the same guy. I think there's something so deeply unseemly and untrustworthy about him. And to your point, when you lie about I don't think lying is acceptable ever. We know, though, why politicians lie and when they would lie. When you're lying, and like, I'm not condoning that, but that's like mainstream lying, right? When you're lying about something that is just unnecessary, like you actually can't help it. I think we all have probably interacted with at least one person in our lives who's like this, where it's confusing. Like I remember someone in high school who was like this, someone in college, where like you run into someone in like a social setting and you realize that they're a pathological liar, where they lie about these tiny details. And that's Tim Walz. Since then, I saw in the hours since this got a little big on Twitter that he deleted at least one of I think he deleted the post with the yellow dog. There's like some sort of yellow. I don't know what kind of dog it is, but the black lab or like mix of lab, something else. By the way, I don't know if it's lab. It's funny because I have a lab, but Theo's gorgeous and he's
Black lab lives matter.
Black labs matter, which is why I got Theo, so no one could ever tell me that I don't understand.
I have 2 dogs. They're both black as well. So
yeah, listen, it's hard because I have to take photos with Theo, so I actually do understand what it's like to deal with that. But I keep trying to tell him that all labs matter, and he just doesn't get it, you know. But aside from that, no, I think, but he's English, so this dog kind of looks American to me because it had a longer nose, but it could be a mix. It doesn't really matter. They've deleted some of the tweets right so far, but I saw tweets as recent as this month with that dog. So it's just like it's so bizarre. I wonder if they regret choosing Walt. And part of me thinks they just don't care. Like, I actually don't know that anybody on the left cares that they realize, you know, the issues with stolen valor, all these kinds of things with Walt. I don't think it's that they like didn't. It may be that they didn't do their research because that team is probably just like DEI stuffed, like self-empowering, like fat liberation queens who are like, you know, guys in dresses that were doing all the vetting. And so I think they probably did overlook a lot of things. But I also think some of it is they just don't care.
They don't care about their own president, so why would they care about a VP? Realistically, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
like
true.
I'm like they literally didn't even elect their own candidate, so what do they care?
Yeah, I saw it. Like, ask any of your friends who say they were voting for Kamala, and ask, oh, did you vote for her in the primary? Guarantee you didn't. Because nobody did.
I'm super thankful. Even in Los Angeles, I'm not friends with stupid people. But the dumbest people I still have ever met in my life are still smart enough to vote for Trump. It's crazy because like you see all the man on the street interviews, which I don't know if you saw the one that I think his name's Lionel. He's really, really funny. He interviewed the girl and was like asking her, would you rather have like basically like World War III or like abortion rights? Would you
rather have democracy or abortion? Yeah, and she was like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think his Instagram is the Big Lies. Elon Musk tweeted him because he went to the DNC crying. And he had really funny labels on everybody. So he had like Pete Buttigieg and it said bus driver. By
the way, I'm friends with him. We met at the RNC. We did an interview. He basically was like, the interview was like not funny because you're not insane. So like he never posted it. But I love him. I love his content. He's hilarious. He's not a bad guy. He's like genuinely just a nice, like funny dude. Unlike some people who like troll and like are kind of evil down a little bit. But that was literally the funniest interview I've seen in so long. Like I was like, you cannot tell me this is a real person. Like you could, like even he kept making it funnier and funnier. But I was like, how scary that these are real people voting. Like this is a real girl. Like I'm sorry. Like I hate to say it because like I am pro-choice and it's not something I'm like proud of by any means. I'm more so pro-choice because I don't want liberal women creating more human beings. But it's like, it's not something you should like ever be proud of. But I'm like, the fact that these people are single issue voters and they're so demonic about it. Like you can avoid having an abortion. It's not something you're going to have. It's something that you'll have to have if you make, unfortunately, most likely poor choices. I understand rape and incest, all these things. Well, first of all, these are the same people that don't care about all the women getting raped by immigrants. So let's not act like rape is actually a real thing.
These are honestly the tail risk issues. Like the average woman who's going in, like that's not why she's getting it. So sorry, continue.
But I'm like, these people are just like insane. I'm like, I cannot believe that abortion is this big of a deal to you guys. And I'm fine with it being state by state. I think if the whole state wants something, frankly, they should have it. And like people are like so against that. But I'm like, I don't know, man. Like I just think maybe you should like fix your life, because if your life was fixed, this wouldn't even be an issue, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's crazy you care so much about rape. I mean, literally the DNC is so demonic to go have a rape victim to go on stage. But I'm like, but then you're denying that immigrants are raping women. So which is it? Are women getting raped or are they not?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's that's the most concerning thing to me, and this is something Emily and I have talked about a lot. We've talked about even doing a video to show like we basically, Emily, it's like this parody was a parody video you and I were going to make a couple weeks ago and decided to like put on the back burner. Maybe we need to bring it back, but now like I don't know, like the wind is kind of out of the sails because there's a real interview with a girl saying exactly what you and I are going to do. What Emily and I discussed a couple weeks ago was doing a video showing like, oh, you know, like gas prices are really high, like, but abortion. And it's like, and then like illegal immigrants are like flooding the country. It's like, but abortion, you know, and like just showing how, you know, like just how insane it is that they're willing to give up everything for the hypothetical abortion that they will statistically never actually get, right? That's what we're actually talking about right now. So
and you can literally avoid getting, I don't know if you saw, there was this like 90-pound emo, like creature of the abyss that like they interviewed at the DNC where I'm like, bro, where do you find these people? And also, how do these people have money to go to this? Like, no offense. Like, just because like I pay for everything when I go to these events and it's thousands and thousands of dollars out of my own pocket. You know what I mean? Because like the hotels are $3,000 a night for like a Holiday Inn. But I'm like watching this thing and it's like, this thing is like, I'm a non-binary transgender lesbian who's had an abortion, been a rape victim. And I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, holy shit. First of all, I'm pretty sure all that goes back to being a straight woman. Okay, so that's a lot of extra steps. Second of all, I'm like, what are the, like, I swear to God, you're like lying and making this shit up. How is every single one of these things like actually happened to you? Like, it's kind of insane. And then she's like, I'm here to protect my rights. And I'm like, once again, though, I don't understand how you can be so worried about rape and abortions, but you're okay with like immigrants literally flooding the country. And I don't see you guys posting all the women who are getting murdered every day. But like, dude, if you saw this thing, you'd be like, this is fucking unreal. Like, how do you hit every single checkpoint? Like, okay, so you're straight. You're a straight woman.
The only thing I will say to that, though, is that Lionel, wow, there was just a huge thing of huge thunderclap.
I don't hear anything.
You can't hear anything? It's
no
pouring outside of the windows open. Okay, as long as you don't hear anything. But I won't give Lionel too much credit just for finding a freak at the DNC because I do feel like that's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. But no, obviously, I mean, he was hilarious and props to him for such an incredible video. But yeah,
shout out to him, but like post our video. I don't care if it's boring.
But also how we're going to start a pressure campaign for him to post that video. Yeah. And then no one's going to care about it because we're just going to agree with everything that you said.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not a they them with like 20 abortions.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think a lot of them are lying. And like, I don't believe all women. Sorry, I don't. And I don't believe you. I don't believe that you had all these things happen to you and you even got an abortion. Sister, you are your own walking abortion. And like I said, we know that like Democrat left, they don't have nearly as much sex. We've talked about this before, but like we know, or they're having like off the charts, like satanic, like polycule things going on. So it's insane. Like I feel like they're either sexless and like kind of bordering incel, or they're
a lot of sex,
or like they're in some like polycule and they all look exactly the way you'd expect. I think it's probably Soros funded a lot of their hotel rooms because on the right, we actually just don't do stuff like that. Like it would be nice if we had people funding things that Emily and I do, for example, but we're actually paying for ourselves and earning our own money, which is why as we start to get ads on this podcast, you all will forgive us because we have to pay the bills. But no ads this time around, but it's going to start happening. But we fund ourselves. I also think a lot of them, as much as they hate the patriarchy, it's daddy. Daddy's paying those bills. So their dad could go and is possibly a Trump supporter, works hard and pays all their bills. And for their, third story walk up in Bushwick, that's how they're affording everything. So.
Oh my God, literally, it's so funny to me. I was at this, like, we call it the trans coffee shop in LA. Like, I just had to go try this matcha there, but like, I would never go back. And it was like so funny because like, I'm looking at these.
Was it actually good?
It was, of course it was good.
Of course it was good. Of course it was good
because can't make a fucking matcha.
We need we need liberals in this world. Like there is like a natural balance to the ecosystem. And it's not even liberals, it's like the leftists, like the freak, like
Yeah.
if I see pronouns on their barista apron when I'm going to get my coffee, I know it's going to be so freaking good. Like I want to
Yeah.
see color in their hair, bizarre
Yep.
haircut, bizarre,
Yeah. Overweight.
nose ring, overweight. The fatter, the better. The more androgynous, the better. Your coffee will not be good with someone who looks clean cut and looks like they show up to work on time. They just
And
it
it's
won't
true
be good.
because yesterday in Santa Monica, we got matcha from this place and like everyone was super normal. And she was like, they're not woke here. And I'm like, it's not that good. But the trans coffee shop that wants to defund the military is the best fucking coffee I've ever had. So, which is so hard because I'm like, I want to open a coffee shop, but I'm going to have to hire these freaks. So I don't know what's going to happen. But it was funny because like 3 people were outside, definitely like a they, them, polycule, as far left as it gets. And then I watched them get into this brand new Mercedes SUV and I was like, what? And I was like, what do you, I literally want to be like, what do you do for a living to be able to afford, like, I'm sorry, this is so evil. I've had these thoughts for over 4 years. And literally me and my like ex-best friend used to talk about this all the time because I wanted to do man on the street. I want to go around Silver Lake, which is like only hipster, Echo Park. And they're all like, they all look so poor, like hipster or homeless. You don't know what they are. Exactly. It's like a fun game. But it's like, I always want to be like, hi, what do you do? And how do you afford to live here? Because what in the actual fuck? Because all my girlfriends who are like, fucking supermodels are struggling. So like, what's going on with you? What do you do for a living?
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, so many campaigns have freaks in them that I feel like they're actually getting the modeling gigs right now, you know? So like, I can't see, like, but you know what? There is like, we are restoring natural balance in the ecosystem. Like Victoria's Secret, I think is bringing back like the actual sexy Victoria's Secret fashion show.
They are.
I loved watching that growing up. Like I only date men. I love men.
Of course.
I loved watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And I want to see an aspirational woman up on that catwalk.
I was going to say, do people not understand for women? It's like, look, we're not stupid. We know that we're not them. But at the same time, there's something very encouraging about seeing a woman who, like, first of all, let's be so real. Those girls' diet and workout routine is something no one would fucking do. I've heard it's like the gnarliest thing in the world. On top of like, yes, of course, they do get a little like work done here and there. Most of them are naturally fucking stunning. But it's like, there's something so beautiful about seeing something like that because it makes you want to be so much better. After you watch that, you're like, tomorrow I'm dieting, I'm working out. And also like, I like seeing beautiful things. It's visually pleasing and stimulating. So it's like, even in movies now, I don't want to watch fat, ugly people fuck. You want to watch pretty people. You want to watch good looking people on film, in movies, in music videos. Like you just want to watch pretty people. Like it's just, there's something about, like I've always said, like pretty women to me have value just by existing and being pretty. And I know that's very like controversial to say now because everyone hates beautiful women. And the most viral video I probably said was when I said I only hang out with pretty girls, which was like literally, you would think I was like denying historical events when I said that. It was the worst thing I've ever said online. I'm like, no, to me, they have value. I like to be around them. They usually are a bit happier and they tend to have easier lives, which usually makes them a little bit kind and more chill and go with the flow. And like, that's a fucking fact. And
also men need beautiful women to work towards something. They need something to express. So yeah.
What is the thing I posted on Instagram? It was like, when you die, just know as a man, when you die, they won't forget your money, your bank account, your career, your success. They'll just remember how hot your wife is.
It's so true. It's so true.
All facts. I can go on for like 10 years.
This is so true. Exactly. No, I totally agree with that. But the left hates that. It's funny. The left hates everything that also takes like, listen, beauty, you're lucky or sometimes you're not lucky, but also there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's work that goes into presenting yourself well to society, to having success, to have money, to dress yourself well, the discipline, to eating well and being healthy and maintaining your figure. And the left hates that. So they will hate on a woman who takes the time to present herself nicely, but they support people looking like freaks, like a hairy man wearing a tight dress that probably should be on a much younger woman, right? That like you and I would never even be wearing.
That we would never wear.
Like they So I mean, this is like when up is down and sideways is backwards, and I don't even know what's going on.
I seriously think like, this is like next level me and my girlfriend talk about like globalist agenda straight up, but I do think the goal in everything they're doing, and especially population control, make people just like suicidal, depressed, it's to strip beauty away from everything. So first you strip, our buildings are ugly, our offices are ugly, architecture, it's all ugly, so it makes you depressed. You strip away all the nature in cities, which makes you depressed, and then you start stripping away beautiful people. You know what I mean? It's like, why? It sounds crazy, but like, I'm sure all girls listening can relate to this. Like, I watch Sex and the City 24/7 because I love how the women are all dressed up. They're all beautiful. The buildings back then were beautiful. The restaurants were beautiful. And I'm like, I wish I was living during that time because I felt like everything was so beautiful. And now, like, the number one goal is to strip away anything beautiful, which is why I think just like this thing of being fat and ugly and like, fight the patriarchy, don't wear makeup and don't get work done. Like, I'm sorry. Most girls look better with a little work done. Go get the work done.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I completely agree with you. And I think that the left hates that there can be, they just hate the status that's created with excellence and beauty and that hard work. That's like, they just hate that entire concept. And like their whole thing is equity, right? Like that we all have the same outcome. So they're going to hate like architecture that takes craftsmanship and hard work and money. And they're going to hate the people who are beautiful because like life isn't fair, right? Like I was a band geek growing up. I think it's probably still pretty obvious, but but I'm also glad. I'm glad that beauty was a standard because when I was growing up, I was really, really awkward, really ugly. And that made me work hard, went to an Ivy League school, which now is really embarrassing. Don't hold it against me. But at the time, it was something that was actually very impressive. There's crazy light. Did you hear that?
Now that I can hear.
That's
crazy.
There's a big, I'm going to get closer to my computer because it's like supremely stormy right now.
But this is like, okay, what you're saying is so important because do you see that when you change how drastically better your life becomes? Because I was like you. I was a little emo freak, ugly nerd.
But you know what I did? I had great friends. I worked hard. I built up a life and I could have just said, oh, woe is me. I don't have these things going for me. And I could have just like sat in my sadness. And instead I was productive with it. And then luckily, like a lot of things changed as I got older and like things got easier because also things are supposed to be awkward when you're young. Yeah. I actually like it's a good thing to have challenges. And what the left has done and what like honestly, what I think like the boomer generation, like what our parents' generation did for our generation, for especially millennials, and now even more so Gen Z, the idea that like, there's no such thing as tardiness. Everyone gets a participation trophy. There's no such thing as, winners and losers. And so that's how we've morphed into this terrible place in society. I'm glad that when I showed up to school with a very short haircut, after giving my hair to Locks of Love, by the way, for a kid with cancer, when I was in the 5th grade, I was very precocious. And I was like, this is a nice thing to do. I want to do charity. I showed up to school and a girl said, you look like a boy. And you know what? That was rough. And I'm like, it was fine. And I survived and I'm a happy person. I'm a productive person. And no one like punished her for saying it's like kids, just kids being kids. And it's a good thing. It made me, sorry, things are like moving around this house right now because it's like everything
That's crazy. It's so funny because like you're always dealing with some weather thing. And then I'm always just sitting here and I'm like, it's another 90-degree day.
This is, guys, I'm 1 week closer to being back in my own space, but I've been away summering, as we call it. It can be a verb. Summering. And so I'm summering, but that's why I'm in a place that looks not at all like my background. And someone just walked in because I have no privacy here. So I'm actually accepting prayers for all of that. But
it's actually
back to your point.
I mean, it's just funny because like it's funny. I was the same way. I'm like, why do you guys, like everyone just assumes, of course, I'm like a white girl in LA. So everyone just assumes I grew up like really pretty and popular and was a bully and came from money and all these things, which are not true. Even literally like less than 5 years ago, like I was a straight up gothic emo girl, like literally these freaks that they interview, like I was one of them. And I think at this point, I'm just going to post a reel of all my old pictures so I can just like confirm with everyone. Like I looked like Beetlejuice. I had green fucking hair. Okay. No one was as left as me. I used to like wear like defund the fucking police shit too. And it's like one of those things, but it's like, I'm not saying every woman should go get their lips done and go get tits and look like a prostitute because that's very popular now. I'm just saying that like just functioning as a normal, beautiful, feminine woman is like the most beneficial thing you could do for you, your work life, your dating life, and all these things. And it's like, these people are so miserable, but I'm like, why are you choosing to be so masculine and unattractive and all these things? And it's just crazy because I'm like, it's weird that these are such common sense things and we've strayed so far. And then I'm also thankful, like growing up, like my parents weren't letting me just be like a fat piece of shit with no rules. Like I literally, me and my boyfriend get a slice of pizza last night after a movie, and I'm watching, there's a obese family, obese child, which is child abuse. I believe if you're overweight, you should not be reproducing. And when I see a child that's like 7 years old and like a freaking 120 pounds, I'm just like, so Child Protective Services should be called immediately. This is actually insane and child abuse. But I'm watching them.
You're actually slowly killing that kid. You're slowly killing that kid.
And like the kid is like, the most important thing is like starting without the issues. When you're born and you already have, and you go into, you know, obesity and all these things so fast, you're screwed for the rest of your life, no matter what happens. To reverse those bad habits is crazy. Like quitting drinking, drugs, and all these things is one thing, but trying to quit like food is the worst addiction of all. But I was just like looking at them and I'm like, they didn't talk once and they just shoveled wings, pizza, ranch, blah, blah. And I was sitting there and I like looked at my boyfriend. I was like, first of all, one slice, I'm so full. I was like, I feel so sick right now. This is so fucked up and depressing to watch. It's so gluttonous. It's like genuinely gluttonous and like fucking like 7 deadly sins to me. I was like, I will throw up when I watch obese people eat, unless it's my 600-pound life, because I love that show.
I saw a leftist liberal researcher, and here's the thing, the science is even so skewed on this. I saw someone who's supposed to be an expert in the field report some sort of study saying that you are more genetically disposed to being overweight if your parents are. Now listen, I don't have a degree in this. I'm not an expert in this, but I have a question. How does genetics work like that when just a few generations ago, nobody had this problem? If you were the average American right now, you'd be at like the circus, at a freak show, at like the carnival that they have with like the, you know, look at these Siamese twins and this really, really fat person. And that's where they would bring you. And now it is so commonplace. That is actually not how evolution works. Evolution doesn't work that all of a sudden it's like in your DNA making you like this that quickly, right? It's, we know that the food that we have is really bad for us. Listen, I do have sympathy for families where if you don't have money, like the things that are readily available to you and affordable in a supermarket are not going to be great for you. But there is actually still no excuse where there are still choices that you can make about, you know, you could get a family pack of chicken. I've done it, the family pack of chicken at Walmart, and you could get that and make grilled chicken for your family. You could get, and like, yes, your vegetables at a place like Walmart won't be as good as they are at another store where they're organic. And even with organic, you have to check because it could be from China. And like, we know they really love telling the truth over there, but you know, but there are still choices that you can make to give your family healthy food, as healthy as possible. And that isn't like candy filled with all this processed stuff. So,
and also like this whole thing, like my girlfriend talks about it. Like even my friends that post like affordable meals and all this stuff, like obviously we're lucky here in LA. You have the most insanely healthy grocery stores, and some of them are some of the most expensive stores in the country. And I shop at all of them, but it's like crazy because last night we're sitting there and I'm like, this is like a pizza place in Westwood that just opened that's like Instagram famous. And I'm like, this family's straight up, no joke, eating probably $45 worth of food easily. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you could go feed all 3 of you with like Trader Joe's shit for $20 and it's healthy. So like I sympathize for people, but this whole like I can't afford to be healthy thing is 100% a victim mentality fucking cop out. It's not true. Those chickens that are $10 at Sprouts, I get, and they last literally days. And I'm like, it's child abuse. And it's just like, once again, it's just like, you don't want to go do the hard, difficult thing because you probably don't want to do the hard work. You don't want to.
That's why scientists are literally excusing this for people, saying you're genetically predisposed if your parents are obese. No, it's because you have obese parents that they're not actually giving you the food that you should be having. And so it's like, is that causation or correlate? Like, is it in your DNA, or is the correlation there because you have unhealthy parents that you yourself will be unhealthy? Like, it's like,
okay, that's funny you say that, because my girlfriend, her name on Instagram is Healing the Source, and she actually posted this and I screenshotted it and saved it because it was so interesting, because I've never heard someone in wellness like say this, because I've always deep down thought it was true. But she was like, this whole thing of all the doctors telling you it's what is it, like generational,
like you're genetically predisposed.
Okay, she basically said 90% of the time that is 100% bullshit.
That's really
Like,
interesting.
not that she's like, that's not a fucking thing. It's because of the environment you're raised in. But she was like, most of these things are not genetic at all. It's the environment. But if you were raised with parents who did something differently, you wouldn't be exposed to that. So she's a great account. That's really interesting. I'm with her on
maybe
that.
when we start having more guests on the show, when we having guests on the show, period. But that I'm curious about that because something I have seen, like I've seen studies. People here listening might be familiar. Show like twins who are separated at birth, and then they go find them, and it turns out they died like within days of each other. You know, like at one point in their life, where it actually was like the inputs didn't matter, and all that mattered was genetics. So I could see that argument going either way. But all I know is that you know, if you stop eating, you lose weight. So I think we're in agreement.
I was gonna say, like, honestly, go through a fucking breakup.
Go through a break. Everyone, all you need is a good breakup, and you. Yeah, that is true. I there's like I have a very controversial line that I actually simply cannot say right now of proof that people really like just you really can lose weight. I'm not going to say it because I've said it in person to people and people are shocked. So I'm going to save that moment for another time when we're bigger and less cancelable.
Just know this is a safe space.
I'm going to share it with Emily after the show. One day, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create like a Patreon or something one day, and we'll say, if you want to hear that, you could go subscribe. Because guys, we have plenty of thoughts like that we're just not going to put out here right now because we have to ease you into exactly how crazy and controversial we are.
And we already got like canceled on our clip because I said the R word, and this like woman starts freaking out about like it's always like some woman on the internet who's chronically online, yet she claims that her child has autism, which is very sad. But I'm like, I find it really interesting as someone, I've nannied kids with severe autism. I'm like, it's like nothing new to me because anyone with a brain knows you're not talking about mentally challenged people. You're talking about people who actually aren't mentally challenged, who are dumb as fuck and deserve that word.
And I would argue that the comeback of the word retard is actually correlating to America's health and wellness, like going back up again. You know, like the more people say it, the more freedom that we actually have in this country and the more patriotism there is. So I actually think it's like a positive correlation, like with
it is. And it's like one of those things where it's like she was saying that she loves my content, but she absolutely, and I'm like, I'm sorry, between all of the content and all the things I've said, and I've said the craziest shit online, especially as like a white girl. I'm like, now you're telling me that I said retarded, and you can, first of all, please unfollow us because I hate this weak ass audience. That's not who I'm catering to.
That's why we're called Unfollowed, actually.
No, literally. And she was like, unfollowed. And I was like, well, thank you. This is why we have the show. But it's so funny because these are always women that are so fucking left leaning. And I'm like, hey, if you're so upset about autism existing in society, I would love to know, like, the record of the vaccinations for your child, how you feed your child's sugar intake, gluten intake, dairy intake. But I'm like, I guarantee you don't give a fuck about any of that. But a stranger online, like, go to the fucking source and figure that shit out before you come on my page. Back the fuck off. I hate this shit.
Talking about people that we hate, Anthony Fauci is in the hospital for West Nile. Let's do a little
one of those. I was like, this is the only good news I've had in so long.
I hope some like left-wing media group finds that clip of us dancing and blows it up. You know what? Good. The man who made people die alone, who said that you couldn't go to funerals of people you loved, who literally put masks on kids. So we're going to have a generation of fucking serial killers because these kids did not have proper human interaction and didn't see people's faces for the first few years of their lives, which are like the most formative years ever. That man getting West Nile, I would say most likely because of the fact that we have all these illegals flooding our country, bringing in freak third world diseases. It's just fitting, you know?
I'm like, ask me if I give a fuck what happens to Anthony Fauci. I'm like, also, this is the guy that like literally like gave everyone like AIDS and then created like the COVID fucking thing, and now everyone like no one could say bye to them.
One of Anthony Fauci's greatest moments, I think, was when they tried to convince us it was less racist to say that COVID came from China and that it was like the China thing and that it was like made from a lab in Wuhan, which it was, and we all know that. But that he thought it was less racist to say that Chinese people eat bat soup.
Yeah.
And that is
and I'm like, oh, that's way less racist.
Oh my God.
Way way better. No, that was like, I was like, wow, my boyfriend actually was the one who sent me that. It was weird because I didn't see it on any media outlets whatsoever. He sent it to me from, I think, like the Washington Post. And I was like, good.
You know
I
what?
hope he gets all the fucking things.
You know how they do, like, I get all those really annoying DNC text messages for some reason. I think someone like spoofed my phone and like signed me up for all this shit. But I get those things like, sign a card for Kamala, congratulating her on the DNC, like weird things like that from the Democrats because they just want your email. But we should do a card that's like a don't get well card, Anthony Fauci, like
Literally.
from the American people. Do we think people would sign it? I think a lot of people would sign it.
Oh my God, imagine like half the country signs on that.
I can't imagine. I actually could imagine half the country.
Truly one of the most evil motherfuckers on the planet. Yeah. And
you know what I hope?
I don't care.
I hope that he got West Nile it's from a mosquito, I think, right? I hope it was from a mosquito that kissed an illegal who came over. That's what I hope for him. You know? He voted
I love that.
Enjoy your West Nile. But also everyone be safe. Like this is like weird stuff. I'm in Massachusetts right now, okay? And there's a report that there's like triple E disease. Not triple E like Tripoli, Libya, I think that is, but it's like EEE, and it's some weird like brain disease that you get from a mosquito. And I'm like, why is this happening? Stuff like through history, I remember seeing headlines like this throughout time. So it's not like this never comes to America. But how does it get here? It gets here because either people travel and they bring it back with them, or I don't know, maybe if the borders open and we're allowing tens of millions of illegals to flood our country, we get freak things like this. Like there are measles outbreaks in this country. And you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to blame it on anti-vaxxers, saying that's why. No. We know from doctors, that the ERs, the EDs, like they're all being overrun by illegals who are coming in with diseases that people have never seen before. I was speaking with someone at a Moms for Liberty event in Florida, on the west coast of Florida, and she was saying that her husband, who's a doctor, is seeing the craziest cases where they have to call in like the old guard doctors who just remember these things from like way back when, because these are diseases they haven't seen in decades because they're coming through with these illegals. Even in Florida apparently has had the largest influx of illegals. Actually, I think they've been flown by the Biden-Harris admin over to Florida. Chicago also had a measles outbreak of over 50 cases in one of their migrant centers, what I call illegal alien.
And they're going to be like, if you all got vaccinated, this wouldn't happen. That's literally they're going to push. By the way, this sounds crazy, but I actually have proof of this and I have video footage. So in LA, there was an insane amount of mosquitoes. And so they dropped like hundreds of millions of like probably billions mosquitoes out of helicopters on us to combat the mosquitoes. And there's footage of it.
They dropped mosquitoes on the mosquitoes, or they dropped
billions of mosquitoes in the air to combat the other mosquitoes because there was too many of them.
Oh, to kill. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's no fucking way that anything good comes out of that. Like, I'm so sorry. That's insane.
That's crazy. Although depending on the mosquito, they could argue that you could eat them I will not eat the bugs. I think that might be one of the t-shirts we make one day. I
don't trust anything that they're doing. So like, to me, it doesn't even fucking matter.
And you know what I mean? I'm going to like keep doing our transitions today because you keep saying things. The last thing we wanted to talk about, like talking about not trusting anything.
Like boyfriend's coming in.
You covered the wrong side of the camera.
Oh, did I? Did you see him? It's fine.
I did not, but we can. That's the one.
If you don't see him, you don't have to cut it out. Continue.
So anyone who's watching this sees like we could see. We'll have the girl who uploads this. Shout out to Lily. She's the best. We will have her check to make sure you can't see him, and she'll probably do like an FBI thing over him so you can't see it.
Honestly, it's fine. You
only editing because we want you guys to see us uncut until you start asking us to edit things because you like don't like the mistakes, and then we'll start doing that. But talking about not trusting anything, the CEO of Telegram was arrested in France, and that's the last thing we wanted to talk about because I mean France has fallen, the UK has fallen, Europe's basically gone at this point. I think the craziest thing about their claims against him is that he's allowing all kinds of illegal activity to happen on Telegram. That's like, then why is Tim Cook not arrested? Why are Apple executives not arrested for the fact that we send stuff on our iPhones, we say stuff all the time, like the inventor of the ballpoint pen. I saw a tweet about that. Like, why don't you arrest them? Because people are coming up with all kinds of ideas and writing it out with the pen. Like, it is so insane we know this is such a like false argument or just false pretenses for arresting him.
Yeah.
And David Sachs, for anyone who follows more like the Twitter, the tech politics side of things, he's one of the guys from the All In Pod, part of the PayPal Mafia, and he called it. He called Telegram. He called TikTok before. And then he's like, look for X and Rumble. And we saw the CEO of Rumble talked about, like, he tweeted once he was safely out of Europe. But this stuff is really scary. And I don't know I just don't know how we can continue supporting somebody that just no longer, the European Union, they're not an ally anymore. And it's sad. No. I know you and I both have a lot of followers who are there who are really upset by what's happening. They share our conservative values, but I don't know how we as conservatives and people who love democracy and freedom can possibly support Europe. I don't think we should be going there anymore.
I mean, no, they're falling from grace very fast, but they're basically turning into the Middle East slowly.
It's crazy. It's like, you want to go to parts of Paris now, you're basically going to Gaza. Good luck. Yeah. Enjoy your Sharia law.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I was talking to a group of podcasters and they were there and they were like, it's insane. They're all liberal. So for them to be like, yeah, you look around and it's like basically like Islamic territory in places that are European, which would be predominantly white. What's happening in Ireland and all these things is insane. I mean, they said it themselves and they're liberals. So what do you expect? But of course, like I don't want to be aligned with any country who, doesn't have free speech when like rapists are getting out in 3 days, but they're putting, white Europeans in prison for talking about the government. Like if they're not going to have
so many cases, people like they will wave a flag of their own country in these countries and they get arrested, or they're told like, you have like to your point, you'll have like pro Sharia law people marching and not marching, intimidating, looting, doing all kinds of things. And if you go to face off with that, then you're the one that goes to jail. You're the one that's creating a disturbance. And that's Europe right now. So fuck Europe. America's beautiful.
So you know what? Fuck Europe.
Fuck Europe. Go to the national parks. Like, be here in America.
Actually, okay, wait. I have a question for you because I asked my girlfriend and my boyfriend at lunch yesterday. So I've been seeing on TikTok, I have the weirdest algorithm on TikTok. It just shows me shit. I have no fucking idea why it's showing me, but it was showing me there's a lot of girls in Iran who are making positive Iran content, doing day in the life. And I'm like, we all agree this is 100% the government forcing them to make these videos because the videos are weird. They're genuinely off. They're like, oh, I'm getting in my Uber. I'm going to a cafe. We're going to get all our nails done. Everything looks like a front for something. And I'm like, first of all, the only thing Iran is fighting for right now is being able to have sex with a married 9-year-olds or 6-year-olds, whatever they were knocking it down to from 16. That's the only thing they're fighting for right now. They're threatening to go to war with all of us. There's no way this is not like North Korean propaganda. I don't believe that women have fun in Iran every day.
No, women have to. So like, I would say the women and the people of Iran in general are super based. And it's the Iranian regime that's really evil and horrible. The Iranian people are unbelievable. In a heartbeat, I would trade all leftists in America for the people of Iran.
The people of Iran, yeah.
The people of Iran are amazing. So, I mean, and these women, like people here, they think that like America's so evil. Okay, go trade the spot with one of these women in Iran who's literally they're putting their lives on the line. And that's something that Americans, for the most part, except for our military members and our vets, thank you for your service. And today, actually, we're shooting this on August 26th on the anniversary of the killing of the 13 American troops during the failed withdrawal from Afghanistan. That is today. And of course, Biden and Kamala Harris, they're doing absolutely nothing for today.
Absolutely nothing.
Trump was the one at Arlington for
them.
But most Americans will never know what it's like to put your life on the line for freedom. And the Iranian people actually know that. And so I know we have to wrap up right now because Emily has we have to hop for something.
No, and I need to do more research, but I will say there was like a young artist in Iran who spoke out against the government and they like hanged him in front of everyone. And I've seen many stories like that. So
they torture you, they'll hang you. It's horrible. So I think you're exactly right. Anything that you're seeing from these women, that's like, they're either doing it because they're part of the, like, hijab police where they like think that this is actually good and like they're part of it, or they're just trying to like protect their lives and do this. But it's definitely like, you're right. It's like North Korean, like wave as people drive by and like pretend they're happy. people around our base, think about them a lot. They don't get nearly enough airtime over here for what they're doing. And especially the women, like, talk about strong women. These women are just showing their hair, getting beaten up, raped, killed for just, and we're not talking about, these are not like feminist, like feminazi
These
marches.
are just normal women.
These are normal women marching for freedom. And I guarantee you, they all want Donald Trump back in office. So I think with that, we'll end there, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks so much for listening to us. Emily, where can everyone find you?
At Emily Saves America.
And you can find me at NonLivTake. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next week.